Alright, let's click on the right thing here. There we go. Pop into ZBrush here. And let me load up. Let's see. I did something recently. I'll show you guys something here. Load that in. So recently I went through my entire character that I'm working on for the Art War 2 competition and crashed ZBrush. And that's what I did. Not sure why that happened. That was really strange. Hopefully we can load that up without any additional problems here. Very strange. We'll try that again. But welcome everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're going to continue working on the Art War 2 Akala character that I've been working on. And depending on if ZBrush wants to play nice or not. Very strange here. We'll try to load that up again. I don't know why that immediately crashed. If it does that again, we might have a serious problem. Okay, so it looks like we're good. So I went through all my subtools here, and I just mirrored everything rather quickly, and then reconstructed some subdivision levels. I'll turn on perspective. Her hair is a little screwed up there. It's because I don't have any color or material applied. That's an easy fix. As long as we select the correct subtool, that is. But yeah, some people were complaining and saying her widow's peak is too strong. They said they didn't like it. And I can see that. It was intentional. It was an intentional design choice. So I'm not a huge fan of the quick fix that I've done here, so I would like to play with that maybe a little bit more during our stream today. And sorry, I was checking on my audio levels there, making sure that everything was good. But yeah, I want to play with that, as well as now that I've kind of mirrored everything, it's going to kind of give me a little bit of a new perspective on the character and hopefully make some good changes. So I'm going to be playing with all of that during our stream today. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please throw them up in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them if I can. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. I'm really gonna try to focus today and hone in on this. So if I'm not talking a lot, I apologize for that. But I would like to get a lot done. So I think it's, you know, totally worth it. Worth the focus. Because I know that I'm not great at sculpting and talking at the same time. Also want to look at little Bork Boy down there and start playing with him. Oh, I've also, you know, obviously created these rocks, this kind of platform down here. That's also new. A little bit of a quick, fun little thing. I might play with that a little bit more and see what else we can come up with. Craig, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. I'm just about to turn off our super terrible song and try a new one. Hope you're doing well. I'm currently attempting to see what I can do with this hair. See how things are starting to look. Just trying to change some angles. I've added this new hair part here in front of our little mechanical ears that are supposed to enhance our character's hearing abilities. And they're just a cool design aesthetic, I think. So playing with that hair, I'm trying to get it to flow down through here a little bit more nicely. I might also push back our centerpiece to make our widow's peak not quite as strong as it is right now. Let's see. We're at 4, 3. Let's merge down. So I have a bunch of different hair parts here. And try to play nice here and tweak this a little bit. Try to get a really nice line there. Really important to me. And like I said, this design choice, we'll turn that off and that one off. So this was supposed to be intentional, and I pushed this back even further. So it's this really strong widow's peak, but what I think kind of exemplifies that even more is the hood, and I guess that it hides enough of the hair. Definitely from a distance read, she begins to look bald, just because of these two open spaces and that coming down in the middle. A little bit less so as you start to, you know, realize that that's what's going on with that strong widow's peak. But definitely with the hood there, it gets a little bit more difficult to read. And for me, I've been looking at the character so much that, you know, I'm not gonna pick up on that. So I'm glad somebody else pointed it out. But it's just a matter of finding that balance right now. I still like that basic shape that we're getting of the hair, but trying to maybe push it back a little to exaggerate it, to have it not so exaggerated might be for the best. So we'll play with that next. And it might be as simple as kind of playing around with that. Craig, I am doing fantastic, man. I am ready to kick butt on this character. We've been working on it for quite a while. For most of January. We're now in February. And it's just a matter of finishing strong and really pouring as many resources into this as we can. As many resources and as much time as we can. But I'm really excited. Really excited to see what this looks like once it's completely finished. Get a nice render. I've been starting to kind of think about that kind of stuff. Thinking about doing some nice rendering in Keyshot doing some preparation for that, thinking about some different materials and some stuff that we can use. But yeah, I'm definitely super excited about that. And ready to see what we can do here. Let's split this off. I wonder if I can weld some vertices on this. Let's quick save. I don't know if it'll let me. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Weld points. Okay. So essentially what I want to do, if I would want to print something like this, I would need to subdivide it and then Dynamesh it together. I might be able to Dynamesh it together at this really low subdiv, but if I wanted to subdivide that, I would have to divide it without Smart on. Smart is going to start rounding edges, and I want it to retain this hard surface shape. But I won't mess with that, at least for the time being. It should be fine. I'm going to turn that off though. I could also crease those edges and that would alleviate most of that. I'm going to try inflating these. Just a tad. Also polygroup them so I can select them both easier. Let's try an inflate of maybe 2. Might actually be fine. I don't think I'm going to be able to inflate it the little amount that I want. And maybe. We'll play with that, and then I'll just kind of manually adjust it. That's the one thing that I don't like about that deformation palette. Not the one thing. It's one of the main things that I don't like about that deformation palette is that, you know, it's dependent on the scale of the objects in your scene, and mine are pretty small right now. So that's causing, you know, even the slightest deformation input of 1 to be quite a drastic change. And you can't really go less than 1, to my knowledge, in that palette. Trying to get some clean separations here. Game Lancer says this is for 3D printing, question mark. In a way, yes, it's for the Art War 2 competition. But I'm designing it, you know, most of the stuff that I do is designed with 3D printing in mind. So I always have that kind of working in the back of my head. Just because of, that's what my, most of my professional sculpting experiences in. Rohit, what's going on? I'm doing good. How about yourself? And Tato, welcome to the stream, guys. Glad to have you here. I've gone through my entire character and mirrored almost every single piece of geometry. And just to give us a different look, I'll zoom out here in a second and show you. Not quite obvious from this level. Just trying to clean up this hair really quick. Alright, so there you can see that I've kind of reversed everything in my character, and now I'm beginning to kind of start picking out the things that are standing out more and more, and trying to tweak those and make them a little bit better. One of the things that I'm trying to do right now, for those that are just popping into the stream, is make my Widow's Peak not quite as strong. Originally, this was designed intentionally this way, and I think it's fine with the character not wearing a hood. But when you put the hood on the character, it starts to make her look a little bit bald. So I want to try to avoid that as much as possible, if I can. And that's what we're kind of trying to do right now. Clean up some parts of the hair, split off some different stuff, and begin to rectify some of these things. I'm gonna clean up this piece, I think, one more time here. Clean up both of those. Julio, what's going on? Alright. So just trying to lower the poly count, simplify the form. It's the most important thing to me right now. Okay. Same thing up top. I'm just going to do a quick Dynamesh. Weird that my light hasn't updated here. There we go. It's fine for those to merge together. I don't really care. Alright, back to cleanup mode. Fill in our color and material on all of these. And of course, hide all the stuff that's in the way. Alright. So just a little bit of cleanup. I'm actually going to, let's do basic material. Maybe we'll be able to see that a little bit better. Right there. Whew, dying. Some nice stretching going on in the back. It's okay, it's not even visible. It's actually embedded in part of the head, so really, it really doesn't matter. If we print later, that's something that would just blend in through a Dynamesh and you'd never see it. Or a new live boolean, I guess, since that's also an option right now. I just want this to be covered up enough that there's not a big change in that area right there between that piece. Should be fine though, with just a little tweak back. Vaunt. Finally caught you on stream instead of watching the re-upload. Super nice work, super inspiring. Thank you very much. And welcome to the stream. Glad you could finally come hang out. Glad to have you here. Tato says, I want to become a patron, but I never use Patreon. What are the rewards? I don't know how to call it if I become a patron. So right now my Patreon is kind of paused. Let's see here. This is my Gumroad. Here's my Patreon. So if you go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Follygon, you can see all the rewards there, critiques and some other things, or you can get my finished projects. Like I said though, right now my Patreon is kind of paused for an undeterminate amount of time right now as I continue to work on this. So Patreon normally works monthly, or what do you call it? Per creation or per upload, so people can, you know, charge their patrons more than once in a month. That's the way mine's set up. It's essentially so that I can either upload something once a month, or for a month or two, you know, not upload anything, and you guys don't get charged for it. So that's the reason I do that, because I don't plan on uploading anything for the month of February, because I've been working on this so long, and I would feel really shitty if you guys got charged and didn't get any rewards for that. I wouldn't feel too great about that. But I thank you that you do want to support me. That's awesome, and I'm super appreciative of that. Thank you a lot. It really does. It means the world to me. But yeah, it's kind of paused right now for an indefinite amount of time, like I said, undeterminate amount of time. So I'm not really sure if I'll be able to turn it back on next month and start re-uploading content. But if you're looking for another way to support me, my Gumroad has a bunch of stuff on it. If you're interested in any of that, if you find some of that stuff or any of what I do here helpful, you can go to my Gumroad, and that's just gumroad.com/Follygon, and there's a few different things on there that are, I think, extremely helpful. One of which being my Supercut How-To ZBrush version, or my How-To ZBrush Supercut version, which is a complete beginner's guide to ZBrush, which includes my brushes, my materials, and my female base mesh. I also have a bunch of 3D models on here from past Patreon packages, brushes, all sorts of stuff. So if any of those interest you, you can maybe click on them. I'm not sure why it's not popping up. Probably because it's my Patreon page. But yes, all sorts of different packages on there. Tons of different 3D models, stuff like my Toadette amiibo, my Pumpkin, also, you know, my female base mesh if you want to get that combined, and some other stuff, and just a ton of other stuff, brushes, all sorts of things. So that's another way, but like I said, Patreon's kind of up in the air right now. It's been really hard for me to kind of throw time at that while I'm trying to work on this art war competition. So, but again, that's super awesome of you. I thank you very much for wanting to become a patron, not a Patreon. The whole Patreon patron thing messes with my head. Gets a little confusing. But yes, thank you. Alright. So we're getting there. We're getting there with our hair. Just a matter of reapplying that material, I think, at this time. Seeing the work that we've done here. So let's fill object, MRGB. Awesome. A little bit more tweaking. Line some things up a little bit better. really these are super small changes that I'm making, but they really do start to make a difference here. A lot of people ask me, how do I get my models so clean? And you are looking at it. It's when you get down to the nitty-gritty and start making those really small, subtle changes, that small, subtle tweaks that really start to clean stuff up. Quick save. Check the Gumroad. Yes, definitely. Love to see the models yourself and keep the good stuff. Keep up the good stuff, I guess. Well, thank you very much. All right. So here's kind of the DL, the down low, on everything that we've got thus far. Like I said, I went through and I mirrored my entire character. Let's we'll do a quick save. And then I'm gonna load in my old one here, just so I can show you guys. Essentially what was happening was I'd been looking at this character in this pose for too long, and eventually it just got a little bit much, and I was like, I need a different perspective to look at this. So I'm gonna delete all that. Just wanted to show you guys real quick. So typically what I'll do is I'll take some turnaround screenshots, throw them in Photoshop, inverse them, and do like some quick paint overs, just to like point out some things that are a little bit messed up or wrong. But now I've kind of taken that a step further, and directly in ZBrush I have mirrored every piece of my geometry. So 74 subtools here, 34 million polys. Took maybe 5 or 10 minutes to do it. Didn't take super long, but I think it's definitely worth it to get that new perspective here on everything. And there is a host of new things that are kind of standing out to me. I need or want to lower our Bork boy over here. I'll lower this rock. Try to do something with that. I want... Oh my god. This song. I cannot think. I want to lower this rock so that his ear is not colliding with her little tail of cloth back there. So I'm going to lower that a little bit. So let's grab just that rock. Split hidden. I'm going to use my transpose tool to grab this flat, and probably, let's see, I think the easiest way to do this is to do something like this. Just like that, and go into transpose master. Then make the changes from there. I could raise her up a little as well on a rock, which isn't a terrible idea. Huh, maybe I'll play with that. Vaunt says, I can't even go over 3 million polys. I feel so limited with an i5, GTX 740, and 8 gigs of RAM. So your main issue there, it sounds like you might be on a laptop with those specs, or a pretty old desktop. But my recommendation, it's pretty hard to upgrade the RAM in a laptop, but the only, I'm surprised that you, so here's the truth, actually. You can go over 3 million polygons, but you can't go over 3 million polygons in a single subtool. And I used to have a laptop that was very similar to yours, and I couldn't go over 4 million polys in a single subtool. Most of my tools here, though, if you look here, they're right around 500 to a million polys, or they're really not that much on an individual basis. So 1.6, you know, 64 polygons, not even 1,000,000 for this piece. This one's going to be 3,000,000. So really, I'm not going over the 3,000,000 mark either. What I do, and what most people do, is they just have a bunch of subtools that are working that way. And with 8 gigs of RAM, it's a little tough, but I think you should be able to squeak out right around here. Your CPU, so your graphics card for ZBrush doesn't matter at all, literally at all. Your CPU only matters when you're doing operations, a few different operations: Dynamesh, ZRemesher, and some Subtool Master operations, or any of the Z plugin operations like Decimation Master, maybe a few others. For the most part, though, I think you should be fine. You just gotta be a little smart with how you split things up, I think. And if you do that, I think you'll get to a pretty good place. But try playing around with doing some different levels of different subtools, and try to experiment. See how many polys you can get up to. It also helps that, you know, when you rotate around your work, like I'm doing right now, this piece has about 4,000,000 polygons in it, but because it has subdivision levels, when I rotate, it drops down to the lowest subdivision level, which is 15,000 polys, roughly 15,000. So you can actually see that when I rotate. You can see that it becomes tessellated. You can see the actual polygons there as I rotate around. And then when I let go, it goes back to that high resolution. So try to play around with that and see if you can maybe come up with some better results. That would be my suggestion. Let's go ahead and T-pose that back in and see how we do. I hate that Transpose Master goes back through all of your subtools. I wish it would just focus on the ones that are, you know, left visible. But I guess it kind of has to in case you go back and unhide some stuff. I don't know. Ugh, yawn. It's annoying either way. So move that stuff real quick and take a look. 4-year-old desktop. Man, that's those are some pretty poor specs for a 4-year-old desktop. Definitely, because it's a desktop, that makes it super easy to upgrade, at least. So get in there, and unless it's, you know, a pre-built store-bought desktop, sometimes you don't have the ability to upgrade those like you would with something that's a little bit more modular that you built yourself. But hopefully it's not too crazy difficult for you. I want to I think I want to rotate him a little bit. Let's actually go back to this. I don't need to re-T-pose. This should be fine. Actually, let's rotate the rock too. I want him to look less like he's looking up her skirt. Let's see here. Can't afford a new one. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying a new desktop. Maybe if you can upgrade your RAM, that's an option. And then you can, you know, if you do end up buying a new computer later, you can take that RAM and put it in the new one too. If you want to update your graphics card, I need to upgrade the CPU. Just did not know that these were in my pocket. It's just like, in order to upgrade the CPU, I need to upgrade the motherboard because of the socket. Different socket, makes sense. It's better if I just wait and buy a new one. But where do I find 1,500 bucks? Yeah, you could build a decent machine. I think a pretty decent machine for 1,000. But like I said, if you're interested in upgrading, it sounds like you're more interested in updating your graphics card at the moment. Graphics card and CPU, which if you do that, you have to upgrade your motherboard, of course, a little bit of a chain reaction there. But if you're more interested in just getting some stuff to work a little bit better in ZBrush, RAM is definitely the route to go. Let's see what we've done here now. Grab our rock'em sock'em. So I kind of just, I made maybe 6 to 8 rocks and then duplicated them once, rotated a few, and played around with them to get some different visual options out of just a few different things here. So you can see here, that's what I've done, and then I've sliced them all off at the bottom really cleanly just to, ooh, this one's definitely built up a lip, and that's because I clipped it. That's my fault. It's gonna be easier, more clean if I actually slice it. I'll just have to kind of line this up though. Or I'll just slice everything again later, because that won't be lined up perfectly. That's alright though, we'll figure it out. I kind of want to tweak some of the rocks here and everything else. More of just a platform right now for everything, but let's do this guy. And we got a crash. Please, quick save. So a thing that ZBrush does with the newest update 4R8P2 is that if you switch subtools on occasion and then try to do an operation right away, so like I switched subtools and then tried to mask something off really quick, ZBrush just crashes, and I really have no idea why this happens, but it's extremely frustrating, and it didn't used to do this, but it happens all the time to me now. Whoa, sorry about that. Load that back up. Let's see. You shall think about it. Sounds like a good plan. Thinking always sounds like a good plan to me. I'm gonna do an auto groups on this. I had some that were kind of double selecting there. Want to avoid that. So I have perspective turned off right now, and the reason that is so that I can shift some of these rocks perfectly from this axis and not have it kind of screw up everything else, which seems to be working fairly well right now. This rock is kind of merged into one here with that rock, and I'm wondering if I should just go ahead and, you know, merge it all together. I don't really think it matters. See what we're dealing with now. Whoops. You gotta be careful sometimes. Inside your buttons in here, like perspective, you have little other checkboxes like dynamic. You want to keep that on. Right now I'm just trying to check the bounding box and weight of our character and the stuff that's going on here. Essentially, I tried to create a path here of rocks that would somewhat counterbalance the character. So if this were to be 3D printed, well, she's definitely going to need something to aid her in standing. And having this kind of sweep forward the way it is a little bit, that's going to help counterbalance the weight of this giant axe, and it gives us a little bit of some fun landscape, something to put our Bork character on, or as some have labeled him, the pervy puppy, because he was looking up her skirt earlier. But I think that's much better now. Absolutely. I still don't know about the hair and if I'm digging that, but at least the color block out now from a distance read doesn't make her look quite as bald, and we can kind of toggle that on and off to just visualize that really quick. So at least for the time being, I'm going to keep that. I might tweak it a little bit later, but we can look at a few other things and try to make some changes. Maybe some more block out environment changes. There's also a couple things that I want to look at in some different parts of the body now that we've kind of mirrored things. A little bit easier to pick up on those larger mistakes, which is always a good thing in my book. I just need to hide a few things. I do also want to look at the Bork character, specifically his legs right now. I also want to be careful that I don't mess up the materials on these. Let me see. Fill that in. So if you're using the smooth brush, typically it has RGB on by default, and if you use that at a lower subdiv, it can really mess up your materials. Kind of a whole issue that ends up popping up later. It can be really frustrating, as you have to continually go back and forth. Just wanted to blend this area a little bit better, really fast. That crash thing happens just with Intel CPU. I don't have any idea, but I have two computers, one with AMD and one with Intel, and I saw it in a forum. If you can link me to that forum, that would be great. But I've had no issues on previous versions of ZBrush, so I'm guessing that it's something new to 408p2 specifically. That would be my guess, at least. But yes, ZBrush crashes a lot, and it crashes for a lot of different reasons. That is a specific one when switching subtools, specifically when alt-clicking to switch subtools. Not sure if that has anything to do with it, but that's when I notice it happening. So alt-click to switch subtools, quick change tends to make it crash, and it seems to be pretty random. And ZBrush isn't using the CPU to do that operation, so I would guess that it's not actually the CPU, but I might be wrong. But yes, please do, if you're not a part of the, let's see here, ZBrush Discord channel, there's a ZBrush Discord that you can join up. Please do post it in there. You can get a link to that by going to my YouTube channel, which you're already on. Go to my About page and go to ZBrush Discord channel. Click that, and you shall get an invitation. But yes, please do. I would love to see the forum and see what's going on. Have some more info about it. Waiting until cryptocurrency drops, so that the price of hardware drops as well. That's funny. The price of cryptocurrencies has been dropping like a rock lately. Saw a slight rise recently, but who knows? Who knows what tomorrow holds? Cryptocurrency and the stock market, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a special look at the hands and nails, since we don't have any yet. I'll have to play with that and figure that out as well, since I haven't given that too much thought. Dropped from 8 to 6.2K. Still very expensive for the hardware, or expensive for the currency. I don't know if you're talking about a specific one there. Sounds like you might be. Alright, so I said I wanted to take a look at these legs, these feetums. I've been thinking about what I want to do with these, and I've been thinking about possibly, let's do this, adding some little toes or something like that, but anytime I try, I just don't like the appeal that we get from it. And I kind of want to keep him as simple as possible, so I've been thinking about rounding out his feet a little bit. I also need to add some form into these areas where the crease is pretty heavy. And some of these areas it's a little strong as well. So rounding out some of that is hopefully going to help in that area. Let's see here. Definitely Bitcoin. If it was going from 8 to 6.2, I haven't checked the price in a little while. I don't think Ethereum is that high though. I don't think it's anywhere near that high. Roberto, the robot boy. What's going on? Hardware is still expensive. Yeah, that's what I thought you. That's what I thought you meant there. That is what made a lot of AMD chips go up in price. Supposedly they're better for mining. I think mining is a zero-sum game though. Zero-sum game, I should say. Not doesn't seem extremely lucrative. Just trying to blend these transitions a little bit better. And then also, I'm not sure how I want to do this exactly, but going through and trying to round these out at the ends of the feet a little bit. Just play with that. There's some pretty hard transitions in here, like I said. And that was intentional at first because I wanted to make sure that they were in there, but you know, now we're starting to, I think, get to a point where we need to get rid of those. And if I can, I would like to shrink these. Scale them down. Trying to just make him a little bit, make his feet a little bit more cute. Come back to that one. Let's try another one. This might be closer to what I was looking for. Let's see. Cryptocurrency augments its price. More people mine cryptocurrency. More demand on RAM and GPU. CPU and RAM gets more expensive. That's the SparkNotes version, yep. And Roberto is J chillin'. Sounds like fun. I'm pretty much just chilling too. But also, you know, chilling and trying to get some work done. ZBrush is, it can be stressful but also relaxing. It kind of depends. Depends on the day. Depends on what you got going on. And kind of more of what I was looking for, trying to just bring it down into a cute little bump down there. And I'm gonna, once I'm done with this, I'm just gonna duplicate it over to the other side, line it back up. Let's hide everything here. Hide everything except for this rock and Borky Boy, as he has been labeled. Bork just sounds like a good dog name. A good pet name, maybe. If I had a dog, I'd name it Bork. Alright, so I am just going to split this off, make it its own tool, so split hidden, and duplicate, and just a matter of mirroring it, and then getting it back over here. Who's that cute little guy? Well, that's Bork, of course. Or as some have labeled him, the pervy puppy, because he was looking up Akala's skirt, our character, and that was a no-go. So I've changed his position, and I'm gonna change his pose maybe even a little more. Whoops, wrong way. Trying to make him look not quite as pervy of a puppy, if at all possible. He's not really a puppy, he's his own little creature. I wanted him to look like he was some kind of stuffed animal of some kind come to life, and I think he's cute, and I had fun making him. It didn't really take that long, and he's not super complicated. I would like to maybe tear him up a little bit more, maybe do some other stuff to him to make him look a little bit more ragged. But I haven't done that quite yet. Let's see, try to line this up a little bit better. If I don't end up printing Akala, the main female character, I will definitely end up printing Bork here. For sure. Because he's just too cute not to. Alright. And got that pretty close. Delete that extra leg there, and then for this front one we're actually going to do another little trick. Just move this, rotate it 180 degrees, and now we have a front leg. Wow. See if I can line that up a little bit better there. I use transparency a lot. I feel like I should set that to a shortcut, a hotkey or something. Although it's never really too far away, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But for solo mode, you know, I use solo mode all the time and I have that on a hotkey. That is one that I would recommend putting on a hotkey if nothing else. Solo mode is fantastic. Let's hide this legum. See how we're doing. I think I need to move that up a little bit. Yep. Possibly this one as well. Let's turn off perspective. Just kind of see what our feet are doing, lining up. And I'll be using the rock that's underneath him to adjust their placement. Make sure that they all have a firm footing, so to speak. Looks like the other ones are a little bit more fat towards the end. We don't need to duplicate it for every single one. Let's see what it looks like over here. Mirror that. I just want to see how well these angles match up. Not too far off. A little bit stronger of a turn there. I think I do want to use this one. Line it up and just play with it for a sec. And obviously, let's actually put this back into a position where it would make sense and then get some rotation. I was thinking about adding some stitches to hold the legs on and some other stuff, but really they're going to be so small that they're not going to be really seen, so I don't want to do all that work for something that's never noticed. I don't know though. If you guys have any ideas for some more stuff we could do to Bork to make him look maybe more like a stuffed animal or more tattered, disheveled, please let me know if you guys got any ideas. Bork? Alright, Borky boy. Let's merge our legs down. Grab our material and color, fill that back in, and let's turn our rock back on. Beautiful. Not too bad. Get some subdivs in these. I don't know if we'll need them, but it'll be nice to have them, just in case. It'll take 5 seconds to do. All right. Borky Boy and the rest of our rocks here, which we can turn on. Or if you guys have any ideas for some environmental pieces that we can put around these rocks. Some little things, maybe some grass, maybe some moss. I don't know if you guys have any other ideas. That's maybe what I was thinking. I don't know what else we could put in there. It's really what my main kind of ideas were. Some blades of grass maybe sticking up between the rocks. Something like that. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Whoa. Refresh this. We're at going on an hour and a half, it looks like. So we got some time left, absolutely. So let's continue. Try to get some stuff done. Let's try to do some grass. I think that might be fun. I could use fiber mesh. Whoops, I did not want to duplicate that. That's my fault. We could use fiber mesh. I think that's going to cause more problems than solutions, though. So let's avoid that, I think, altogether. I'm going to slice off a little bit of our rocks here, just to make sure we're all at the same level, same height. Get a nice clean cut there, go through, select that all, delete hidden, close holes, fill in all those colors, and then I'm just going to auto groups all of that. Make sure each rock has its own poly group there. Alright, so let's try some grass. Now, how do we want to do this? I guess the curved tube brush, probably with a brush mod of 4, so we can get a flat box, something like that. I mean, honestly, I could just insert a cube in here, and we would get the same effect. But I guess since we're here, we're using this, we might as well. And we can just, whoops, pull this up, pull this down, set the curve step a lot higher. We'll do like 1.5. Sure. Looks good. Alright. Let's put a piece of grass in. And then we can modify that and duplicate it and modify it more from there. That's a beautiful blade of grass. I've never seen a better blade of grass. Let's delete our caps here. I don't want those. What I would like, though, some bridge geo. Like that. Some flat. That was weird. Some flattening there. It's always fun. Turn off the color on our grass too. We'll have to scale it down, but I just want to make sure that we can do something interesting here. So that's just what it looks like with dynamic on. If we want, we can... where is it? There we go. You can maybe just look up a blade of grass. Get a little better idea of the profile. It's not super complicated. Maybe we could put a crease in the middle to get that, like, that beveled, or not beveled, but that hard edge and that concave, convex surface, depending on what side you're looking at. Let's try that. So to do that, what we're gonna need is an edge loop down the middle. Poly loop. And then I guess the easiest way would just be to mask these off. Front and back polygons. And then take those and just push them. It's gonna be a little weird up top, so let's kinda do this manually. Don't want those to get out of whack. And we'll do ZModeler crease, edge loop, bam. And start to modify that. Maybe we can, if we crease the edges there, it might be a little too much. Maybe if we bevel them, or just kind of pull these in a little tighter here, might be able to aid that shape a little bit better. I mean, these are going to be pretty small, so really, they don't need to be amazing blades of grass or anything, right? And we'll just add maybe a little rotation in here. Play with the different forms a little bit. Make it a little uneven. A little bit more natural. And now what we can do is take our blade of grass, and we could, you know, duplicate it a few times around our scene, or we could make it into an insert brush. And then all we have to do is use that brush to insert our blades of grass. So I say we do that and try to play with it from there. Some branches on the ground, just some like foliage. It's not a bad idea. Tato says he's gotta go. And tomorrow, yes, tomorrow, come on back. We'll hang out on the stream. And awesome work. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Tato. You have a great day. Alright, guys. So creating an insert mesh brush. Pretty easy to do. Just kind of find the angle that you want it to insert from. I think we want to look at it this way. I might have to do this more than once, just to make sure. But create insert mesh. New. I have that chosen there, so when I click and select, it kind of comes up from there. So that, I think that's what I want. Let's try it out. Let's, I'm gonna try to make this a little bit easier to work with. I'm gonna decimate this really fast. It is 6 million polys after all. Honestly, it's going to look exactly the same once it's decimated, so I don't really need that an original rock either. Not a big deal. Decimation Master is probably what I'm going to do to a lot of my geometry before I take it into a rendering engine like Keyshot. If I go the Keyshot route, that is. Simply because Keyshot and 40 million polys around there, not your friend, not a good time. So we want to try to avoid that as best as we can here. So I'm watching, I'm just kind of blankly staring at this loading bar up here as it tries to go through. I feel like Decimation Master used to work a lot faster back in the day. Back before this version, but I guess not. I'm just decimating down to about 10% of the original mesh. And that seems to be fine. I just want to apply our color and material here. And I think I'm just going to delete this mesh. And keep my decimated one. I think it just crashed. Okay, no, it just it quick saved for some reason right before I clicked auto groups. That was very strange. Or like a millisecond right before I clicked it. Very weird. Alright. So let's try out our insert mesh brush. And we'll just grab a shitty green for the time being. Doesn't need to be anything special. I just want it to be visible. Wonder if... Thinking if there's a better way to do this. I'm flattening the hell out of everything so that when I insert my mesh, it will hopefully go more up. And it looks like it's working. I'm going to modify each of these after the fact, but I just want to get, you know, a few of these poking through the cracks a little bit. See what I can do.
What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle.
So I'm just trying to insert a few here and there just to get a starting point for making some modifications. Really, it doesn't need to be anything special. This is just a little bit faster and easier than if I were to go through and duplicate all this geometry and then you know, manually place each blade of grass. That's kind of what we're doing now. Just a little bit easier with an insert mesh brush, in my opinion. And get a couple of those. And I'm gonna probably move all of these up at once, just to make them more visible. And probably even duplicate some of these even more. I don't know, we'll play with it. See what we can come up with. As you can see, some of those are starting to lay down. They're a little grossly neon green, and that's because I wanted to see them as I put them in. Now we want to maybe change that up a little bit. Let's auto groups, just so I can select these, as they all share some common polygroups. Or at least they did. And maybe we can just kind of move these around. Figure out placement. Add some more variation to these. Play with their color. Probably be a good idea.
And now it's available for everyone.
And like I said, maybe some duplications, some rotations. Quick little things to get some more grass in there. Just to get a few patches. I don't think it needs a lot. Maybe we can do some moss, something like that I was saying, and I can show you another interesting way we can do that. I have an idea about how we can do that. Playing with extractions maybe is what I'm thinking right now. I've done some stuff with fiber mesh in the past, but not really been super happy with the results. I prefer to get some real geometry in there if we can. This seems to be working fairly well though. Roberto needs to go as well. No problem, Mr. Robot. You have a nice day. Yeah, let's see here. Alright, now let's try to make this grass color a little less violent. Let's turn on it. Turn on all the things. And that's not a bad color for our initial base color. I think from here, let's auto groups, grab a few blades here and there. And we'll do a slightly different color on those. And then maybe get another variable color as well. Alright, let's see here. That needs to stop. Alright, so I want to try to darken some of these as well. Just try to play with some different variation. Now all I'm doing is, you know, selecting a different darker color, but I am only adding in about 50% of that color there. So trying to get some different variation. Just in color alone. We can even do some more stuff here. What I would like to do is start selecting and masking off a few different ones. Doing some tweaks here and there. Some tweaks to the length and shape, and maybe adding in a few more blades, as it looks like these could stand to be a little thicker. They're a little sparse right now, right? Can play with that too. And I know these aren't seen extremely well, but I think they add to the scene, in my opinion. Vaunt, heading out. No problem, friend. I'll see you later. Hopefully in the next stream. Swing on by tomorrow if you're around. Alright, let's see here. Let's try doing a quick duplicate, rotate. I actually do think that's too much, so maybe I was wrong there. Maybe just duplicating one or two is a better idea. One of these sets of grass is right under her foot. Not a great idea. Not a great place for those. We won't mess with those then. So some quick little variations to those. Robert was suggesting that we possibly add some branches or some debris, some stuff like that. I like that idea. I say we try to maybe do a little bit of moss or something. See how that goes. Rocking stuff back on here. So I was saying using some extractions would be a good way to do that. I'm using my mask pen, just a pretty small mask. Let's look at examples of moss on rocks, just so we can get an idea of where it grows. Kinda haphazard and all over the place. More on top of the rocks here, it looks like. I would guess that it would not grow quite as much in the cracks. It would be more where the sun can get to it. That would be my guess. Maybe we can do some fungi, some fun guys, and play with that as well. But let's see what we can do here. So a little bit on top of some of these rocks. Right now, I'm just kind of, like I said, being a little haphazard with some of this. I'm using a pretty small brush, and I'll show you why later once we get to that stage. But I am going to be using an extraction on these rocks. And when I do that, I'm essentially just going to inflate and move around some parts and pieces, trying to blend it in and play with it, add some different colors. We'll see how it works. It's been a while since I've done stuff like this, so we'll have to play around. See what we can accomplish. And it's okay if I get it in a place that I don't want it, because really it's just a matter of deleting it or hiding it. It shouldn't be too big of an issue. What I would like to do though is kind of soften these a little bit, see if we can maybe get a little bit of a different approach here. And these are decimated, so the extraction might not be super great, so there's another way that we can kind of handle this by using polygroups, which is absolutely an option. I want to go around from some different angles and play with this as well. And you can see that I'm using this small brush and I'm being fairly haphazard with this. And that's intentional. I'm trying to create just some random variation here and hopefully get an extraction that's not very clean and kind of haphazard. We'll see how it goes though. There's a brush called the Blob brush. I don't know if any of you have ever used it, but it's pretty much got an extremely limited number of uses, and for sculpting moss, it's not too bad. Moss or fungus, that kind of stuff. It's a pretty unique brush. I use it extremely rarely. There's very small cases where I will use it. But I think I've talked about how, I think most people use a very small amount of brushes. And, there's those edge cases where that one weird brush will help you out with something specific. And this will be, I think, one of those cases where it will. And we'll look at it here shortly. Alright, so I've kind of gone pretty crazy here with my masking. Maybe a little bit more crazy back there. Let's try this out. So, extract. We'll keep double on, and I'll set the thickness to 0.005 for starters, and we'll see what kind of results that gets us. And I think that's decent. I was trying to get a little bit, see the holes here in the extracted mesh? I was trying to get a few more of those. Maybe I can just be, a little bit more intentional with that and try to get a few more of those. But I think that's going to work out. It looked like it was working pretty well. Got to be careful that you don't control click on your mesh while you're doing this. That's going to soften your mask, and that's not what we want here. Like that. Also not what we wanted. And then again, we can always, you know, push and pull stuff around to hide it, like I said. So it's not really, not the end of the world, I guess, for a lot of this. Maybe softening the mask will help in that area too. So let's see here. Do another extraction. We have this dark green color selected, so when it extracts, it'll be nice and easy for us to see. That's a little bit better. Starting to get some of those gaps in there. I like that more, for sure. A little bit more random. Let's soften it. See what kind of results that gets. Might be a little bit too much on the gaps if we do it that way. Really not sure. Actually, it looks about the same. Wonder if we harden our mask, we can get some different results. So control clicking on your mesh softens your mask, and control alt clicking on your mesh will harden your mask there. So it definitely, you know, gave us some different results there for sure. I say we try it. So I'm going to click accept. I'm going to clear my mask on this, and you can see here that essentially what happens is it takes the geometry of whatever you extracted from, which was decimated, so you got that. It adds some thickness to it, and then duplicates that on the other side. So it extracts it, makes that other geometry, and then extrudes it, and then connects it all. So we can actually remesh this fairly well. We might want to avoid that, though. We might get some really weird results. We can play around, though. But I think this is a good starting point for where we go from here. Let me show you guys the blob brush real quick. Let's see. It might have... Oh, there it is. At the very top. And this is decimated geometry, so it's going to be even more weird here, but let's subdivide once. You guys can kind of see how this works. How you can start to build up some really interesting forms really quick. I think it's pretty neat. So we'll probably play with that brush, but I guess we can try to get our geometry to a little bit of a better place, possibly remeshing it. Not really sure how that's going to turn out, but it's worth a shot. Let's just try an old 5K ZRemesh and see what kind of garbage it results us in. And 5K might not be enough. Thankfully, ZRemesher goes all the way up to 100. We have so many parts here that we're trying to remesh at once, and I don't want to go through and remesh all of these individually, especially when I'm just going to dynamesh them and mess with them even more. If this becomes, you know, too much of a problem, if it's, yeah, it didn't even work, and that's totally fine. I kind of figured that would be the case. So we can dynamesh this, I think, and play with it a little bit more. I'm gonna switch my material. I'm just trying to make this a little bit easier for me to see and work with. So we are going to dynamesh, do some smoothing, using the blob brush, a few other things to clean it up and get it looking more like moss. Let's see here. But I'm going to play with that for a little bit longer here, and then go ahead and bounce on out of here, because we are very close to when I need to leave within the next 15 minutes or so. So a quick Dynamesh, we're at 4 million polygons over that, but smoothing this is now a little bit easier. If I were to smooth that before, it would have created a lot of issues with those areas where the edges were, just because of the way the geometry was decimated. We want to avoid that as best as we can. So I'm just kind of going through, doing some quick, super quick smoothing out on some of these, just to make the form not quite such a hard transition. We got some weird areas in here. I think this looks great though for starting out, especially since it took like 5 seconds to do, and very little thought. Not difficult at all to get to a good place like this, to get some random interactions. And really, you know, I say that ZBrush is a lot of problem solving, and I think case in point right here, proving a lot of that, where we just try to, you know, figure out what tools we have, what tools we know that we can use, and try it out on something new. And I haven't done moss like this particular way in a long time, and I don't even remember where I first saw it or thought of it, but just having that tool set that you can kind of use for a lot of different things. Extractions I use for creating clothing. A lot of people do that. Now we're using it for making moss. So, you know, a lot of things have different uses in here, and it's all about figuring out what you can do with it all. Similarly to, you know, just using a few brushes here and there. It's pretty much the exact same idea. Might want to lower our poly count. I am going to hide our little Borky boy a little bit in the way, making it a little tough to see. And you can see on my rotations I'm getting a little bit of lag, and that's because I don't have any lower subdivision levels for these, so it's going to lag a little bit as I rotate around that, just as there's no lower subdiv for that to drop down to. It's trying to rotate and show the highest level of polygons there, which can be, you know, a little frustrating, but we'll make it work. So let's grab our, well, actually let's start with our move brush or blob brush, one of the two. We'll kind of switch between them. Let's try out the blob brush first at least, and see what kind of interesting interactions we can get here. So if you've never used the blob brush, like I said, it has a very specific use case. If you just kind of use it in one area, you'll notice that it kind of bubbles or inflates that area into a sphere. So it's very specific with its interaction. So you can use that and move it around, and depending on how quickly you move it, it's going to have different interactions. So you kind of got to be a little careful with it. But we can use it to get some pretty interesting results, I think, rather quickly, by being pretty haphazard with it and just trying to get some different forms in there for our moss. So maybe that's not exactly what we want, but we can play with the Z intensity on the brush. We can play with the focal shift on the brush to maybe increase its focal length there, its focal shift, so that it's not such a tight point as it tends to hone in on one area like that. I'm not a huge fan of that interaction. A little bit bigger though, and pressing a little bit harder, we can start to play with that. And let's see what we can do. So I think the blob brush is actually a dual action brush. I believe that depending on how hard you press, it will affect the area effect of the brush by quite a bit. So barely pressing there, pretty small. Press a lot, you can see that it starts to widen its area of effect pretty quickly. So I kind of want to play with that a little bit here. Let's try some spray maybe with our blob brush and see if we can get some nice mossy texture up through here. This is more of what I was looking for, just to get that randomness in there. Something fun. Something a little bit more organic. Kind of looks like I'm frying up some pancakes while I'm doing this. The way they sizzle around like that. And I'll probably come back through and smooth those out to get rid of the little pock marks. But for now, I think it's fine. It's giving me some random shapes, which is what I was looking for mainly. Re-dynamesh that. And actually, I'm going to lower our dynamesh resolution even more. And we got a crash. Luckily, we have a quick save going on now, so. Alright. Well, guys, I think that's a pretty good crash to end on for today. We still have the quick save, so I can load that back up, and I'll be working on this more later, but let's see here. Make sure we do have it. Looks like we do. But for the time being, I think that's going to be good for today, guys. So thank you for coming and hanging out with me. Looks like we're good. I think so. We got some nice texture started there. We'll go back to our blob brush and spray and keep working with that. But again, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I don't think I have anything else to say other than that. Thanks, guys. If you want to check out my progress on my Art War 2 character, Akala, I guess, you know, I can, for the people that are coming in a little bit late, we can show her off. But yeah, I've been working on this character for a while now, and we still have some more work to do, absolutely. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited to get this character not just finished and, you know, going to the next thing, but I'm really excited to push it to the next level and see how far I can push it and grow here. I've definitely grown during this Art War competition, and I hope that you guys have as well, watching, and maybe learned a few tips and tricks from watching me. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for coming and giving me somebody to talk to. As always, you know, I got my Gumroad. You guys can check that out if you're interested in any of the brushes or materials that I use or anything like that. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the stream tomorrow, hopefully. Same time, around the morning my time. I'm in the Eastern time zone, so typically around 11 a.m. And sometimes some night streams thrown in there as well. But again, I'll see you guys in the next stream. Come on, just pop in for a few seconds if you can, and I'll see you guys then. So thanks for stopping in. All right, later, guys. Have a great day.